My name is Raymond Aaron. This is a presentation you have never, ever seen before. It's brand new. I've been working on it for several years. I just finished it in the restaurant a few minutes ago. You are not only the first people to see it, but you're going to see it with me for the very first time. I have never seen this presentation before. I mean, I created it, but I've never been on stage actually saying it. So this is the new thing that's going to happen as a result of the end of my final world tour. This is my next new thing, and it's by far the most exciting thing I have ever created in 28 years on stage. And you are the very first people to whom I'm revealing it. Is that a good thing? Yeah, can you just pretend you're excited about all that? We are very excited. This is interesting. Like, just pretend you came here voluntarily so that we can have a fun time together. Now, put up your hand if you have ever seen me speak before. Welcome back, welcome back. Put up your hand if you've never heard me speak before. Oh, you're in for a treat today. A treat. Okay, good. You're going to have to take lots of notes. If you came completely unprepared, then you'll have to memorize like crazy. Because I don't want you to wake up tomorrow morning and say, how do you get rich again? This is your opportunity right now. So, what matters is you. The entire presentation is going to be about you, about how you can create a powerful and transformational change in your life. Right now, you might think that a giant change is beyond your reach. This is like a joke. This is a funny thing. You're allowed to laugh when you see this. If you don't want me to show any funny slides, I have one special button. I can eliminate all the funny slides. It'll make my presentation much shorter but boring. So do you want the funny slides or you don't want the funny slides? Okay, then when a funny slide comes up, you need to react appropriately. Okay? Yeah, don't try to laugh now. You've blown it. Wait till the next opportunity comes. All right, maybe you think life is unfair to you. If that's the case, you need a big change, and I'm going to show you how to create that change. I'm going to show you right here tonight. We're going to start with how much you currently earn. I actually know how much you earn. I checked it on StatsCan. And what StatsCan said is that the average Canadian earns $52,000, so that would be British Columbia. Don't take too much pride that you're in Ontario at $60,000 because it's not that much better. If all you're going to earn is $60,000, stay at home for the year. Why bother? Because the people who earn $60,000 spend it during the year and there's nothing left. And so if that's what you're going to dedicate your life to, don't even bother. I've got a very much better plan for you. What is it? A gigantic change. And the change is, I am interested in moving you up to the top 1% income earner in the entire country. Is that of interest to you? Yes. Top 1%. So how much is that? In Canada, it's $250,000. Apparently, we're not as entrepreneurial as our American buddies. They're at $388,000. But $250,000 is top 1% income earner in the entire country. Now, that might seem like a lot of money to you. Maybe it'll seem unattainable to you. Let me just tell you what that number really is. I don't know how to go to work every day and conscientiously work every day and keep my income that low. I don't know how you do that. In fact, there are individual days in which I earn that much and much more. In fact, my record is earning this check for $1 million in 90 minutes. And that was actually right here in Toronto, March 31st, 2007. So, are you interested in a dramatic increase in your income? Put up your hand. Okay, that's exactly where we're going. Hang on for the ride. If you're a salesman, expect much more sales. If you're an employee, expect to get raises and significant interesting job offers. If you're unemployed, expect to get a job. If you're a real estate investor, expect to get funding. If you're a businessman, expect to get huge profits. If you're stuck, expect to get unstuck. I hope I haven't left anybody out. Hopefully I've covered everybody in the room. That's where you are. This is where you're going to be going. Because most people are indistinguishable nails in a bin. Let's say you go to a hardware store and you say proudly to the merchant that you want to hang up a picture and you need an 1.25 inch nail. And you ask if the merchant has any. And he says, well, you're in luck. I've got a whole bin of 1.25 inch nails right here. and you say to the merchant, well, which one should I choose? He looks at you like you're a goof and says, well, any one, they're all the same. And that's where you are right now. You're not branded in any way. If you lose your job or quit your job or, heaven forbid, get an illness or hit by a truck, they'll replace you really easily. Because most people, definitely most Canadians, are indistinguishable nails in the bin. You can be replaced so easily. And if you can be replaced easily, then there's nothing much to distinguish you. There's no reason anyone should pay you a lot if you're the same as somebody else that they could replace you with. And so my job is to make you different. You see, if there's one nail in the bin that's different, if it's a different color, if it flashes neon, if it's different in any way, then there might be 1,000 nails in the bin. One is different. You're tempted to choose that one. Do you understand that? So I'm going to show you how to be different. Because here's the interesting thing. If one nail in the bin is red, even if red is no better than gray, but if one is red, then you have to make a decision. Should I choose the one red nail or the 1,000 gray that are all the same? Suddenly that one nail has a gigantically greater chance of being picked. Do you understand that? And that's where you fail. Right now, you're roughly indistinguishable from other people who have your same skill set. And as such, you struggle to make money. Because if they can't get you, they get someone else, and they may not care. Now, that might be insulting to you. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm trying to dramatically increase your income. That's my job. So, can I go on? Yes. Okay, good. Let's talk about creating your own microeconomy. In the United States, 3 months ago, it was announced that the U.S. Federal Reserve, which is a giant name for Uncle Sam's savings account, had $80 billion in it. Sounds like a lot of money, $80 billion. But unfortunately, what you need to know is that on the same day, they also announced that Apple Computers had $85 billion in its savings account. $85 billion, more than the entire United States. Europe is in the toilet. There are several countries that are already bankrupt. Portugal, Ireland, and Greece. Before this year is out, Spain and Italy will also declare bankruptcy. The euro may fall apart. The entire European Union might fall apart. Real estate prices in the United States are in the toilet. The world has gone crazy, and yet Apple Computers is making more money than it's ever made before. So my job is to make sure that you create your own microeconomy regardless of what the United States or Canada or Europe or anybody is doing. Is that of interest to you? And I know exactly how to do that by making you a distinguishable nail in the bin. We're going to be talking about that. Right now you may feel boxed in. Right now you may want to get out of your box. Well, here's the interesting thing that I can say about getting out of your box. The rules for getting out of your box are written very clearly on the outside of the box. And that makes it difficult if you're inside the box. Have you noticed that everyone who's outside of your box, that is, who earns far more money than you, knows exactly what you should do because the rules are on the outside of the box? Well, I'm on the outside of your box. I'm not being pompous. I'm not saying I'm not in a box. I'm just in a much bigger box than you are. And so I can look at your box and find out exactly what you need to do, what transformational move you need to do, what change you need to create in order for you to explode out of your box and be in a far higher box with more vacations and far more income. Is that of interest to you? Yes. Okay, that's exactly where we're going. So here's the out-of-the-box change that's needed. Transactional or transformational, and you'll find out in a minute which one it is that you need. First of all, just to explain, transactional change has the words like efficiency and productivity, and transactional change can get you 5 to 50% improvement in your income, in your vacations, in your health, whatever it is that you're trying to improve. Transformational change, on the other hand, is so completely different, there's no words to describe, except the word transformational itself, the kind of giantness of the change. And the improvements that you can expect are in the 100% to 1,000% range. 100% to 1,000% range. Let's just use 1,000 as an example. That's a multiplier of 10. Let's say your income is $60,000. If you multiply that by 10, your income becomes what? $600,000. Now that's a transformational change, not a transactional change. If you're sitting there in the transactional box, you could say, oh, that's impossible. I get a 2% raise every year. Transactionally, it does indeed seem impossible. Transformationally, it's the norm. Transformationally, it's the norm. When you have a transformational change in your life, well, let me say it this way. Are there people of your height, your skin color, your education, your IQ that make 10 times less than you? See, that was an audience participation moment that you blew very badly. So we'll try it again until you all get it. The answer is yes, just in case you're having difficulty with the accuracy of the answer. Are there people with your same skin color, IQ, height, education who earn 10 times less than you? Yes. Are there people of exactly the same as you who earn 10 times more? Yes, so it's not impossible to do it. It's just that you got stuck in a box at whatever level you're at. You got stuck in the $60,000 box or the $30,000 a year box or the $200,000 a year box. Whatever box you're in, that's the box you're stuck in. And 10 times more seems unbelievable, and 10 times less also seems unbelievable. Oh, I would never work for that little. Yeah, well, there are people who right now working for that little, who think that they can earn what you're earning, and there's not that much difference between you. That's what's so shocking. People just get into a box, and then they get friends who are in that box, and they think that's the box. But it's not. It's just where you happen to get stuck. So let's talk about transactional change. The number one leader in the entire world for an entire decade in the world of mobile music was Sony. Sony Walkman was the undisputed leader in mobile music for a decade. Everything that was bought by way of mobile music was Sony Walkman. Every kid wanted a Sony Walkman for Christmas, every single kid. Then the world went digital. And so Sony said, well, we're the leader in the world, we should go digital. And so what they created was the Sony Discman. And they called that a transformational change. They called it going from analog to digital, but it was not a transformational change. Instead of sliding in an analog thing called a audio cassette, you slide in a CD. But basically, it was exactly the same as far as the user is concerned. So a company called Apple came along and they said, you think the Discman is digital? Wait till you see this. The iPod is digital. Instead of playing 12 songs like you can in a Discman, in the order that they want you to play it, and from one single singer who put out one single album, you can play 10,000 songs in any order you want and combine whatever singers you want into any playlist you want. That was transformational. Can you see the difference? Yes. And when they did, when Steve Jobs announced the iPod, Sony's sales of Walkman and Discman dropped to zero the next morning. Not a single kid wanted a Walkman or a Discman from the next morning onward. Nothing. 10 years as the leader, and then Sony collapsed, at least as far as mobile music is concerned. So can you see that if you were a normal financial planner and you were talking to a normal company that was trying to produce some kind of competitor to Sony in the mobile music, you might say, well, you know, transactionally, you'll probably expect to get 1% of the market share, and then within 5 years, maybe 4.2% of the market share. Baloney! From one day to the next, Apple went up to 100% market share. That's transformational. And it's completely possible when you make transformational moves. If you make transactional moves, you'll get transactional benefits, 5 to 50%. If you make transformational moves, then you get 100% to 1,000%. Put up your hand if you want to make a transformational move. I figured it out. I figured out the transformational move that you have to make. I figured it out. And I'm going to tell it to you today, and you'll have an opportunity to get into it. Is that exciting? Yeah. And you're the first people to hear it. The first people. Okay, here we go. So let's talk about a transformational realtor. One of my clients, a lady, she had been out of realtor school for 1 year. In that entire year, she helped 2 people buy a house. And her commission was probably $10,000 on each one, so she made $20,000 in a year. She's a struggling realtor. I branded her so that she would not be an indistinguishable nail realtor in a barrel. I branded her as the realtor that helps you get into a home larger than you thought you could afford. I get you into a home larger than you thought you could afford. Imagine if you and your spouse are interested in buying a home and 10 realtors are saying, pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me, and 9 of them are identical, and one of them says, I'm the realtor that gets you into a home larger than you thought you could afford. How can you say no to that realtor? How could you possibly do that? It's like saying, oh, I would like to spend a lot of money and not get as much house. No, nobody would do that. You're just too compelled because that realtor is branded. That realtor is different. That realtor is a different nail in the bin. And then, of course, the next question someone has is, well, how do I know you can do that? And I taught her to say, because I wrote the book on it. And they say, what? You wrote the book on what? I wrote the book entitled, Getting into a Home Larger Than You Thought You Could Afford. You wrote the book on it? Put up your hand if you can see that clinches the deal. That's the realtor that everyone is going to... That's it. That's the transformational change. When you have a book, you blow people away. You just completely blow them away. There's nobody in competition whatsoever. And I'm going to spend the rest of the time telling you how easy it is to have a book and how easy it is to have a giant increase in your income. Let me give you another example of a transformational chiropractor. Now, this story, I can't look back and tell you what happened. I have to look forward and tell you what's going to happen because this story is in the process, okay? So I had a session with a chiropractor in the young Eglinton area of Toronto, and there's about 10 other chiropractors who have their offices nearby. And he is a struggling chiropractor. He does adjustments at $40 a person, $40 an adjustment. And in meetings with his other chiropractors in the area, what he found is that everybody charges $40 and everyone is struggling. And they realize they can't charge $35 in order to get more patients because they will get more patients, but they'll go broke because you just can't do adjustments at $35 and pay your rent. So then the obvious thing is we'll charge $45. Well, if they charge $45, they'll be able to pay the rent if they get clients, but they won't because no one's going to pay $45 if they can go to somebody else and pay $40. So they can't charge $40 and they can't charge $35 and they can't charge $45. They're stuck. Being stuck is a transformational statement or a transactional statement? Transactional statement. And so what have I proposed to this chiropractor? I proposed that he writes a book. And once he writes a book, I'm then going to propose to him that he send out press releases that I'll help him write. And then he's going to get on radio and television. Now, if there's a chiropractor, if you live in Toronto and there's a chiropractor right here in Toronto that has a book on the 7 things to never do or the 5 correct ways to lift or how to never have back pain for the rest of your life or whatever the book title is on, if you're listening to that radio show and you hear this chiropractor and you got back pain, man, are you going to phone the number. You are going to phone the number. And it's going to ring through to the receptionist, and this is what I'm going to train the receptionist to say. Thank you for listening to that radio or TV show last night where Dr. Jones was interviewed, and he did talk about the ways to never have back pain again. I understand you're calling because you have back pain. Is that correct? Yeah. And here's what I'm going to tell the receptionist to say. We have chiropractors here in our office trained by Dr. Jones, and you can have adjustments here at $40. But if you want Dr. Jones himself, it's only $99. Put up your hand if you can see that a lot of people, or at least some people, are going to choose Dr. Jones at $99. He told me he could not charge $45. Transformational or transactional statement? And I got him clients at $99. And they volunteered for it. They're going to be asking for it. They're going to be given the option and say, I'd rather pay $99. Why? Is he a better chiropractor than the other 9 in the area? No. But he's got a book. He's got a book, and that's the difference. Now, you want to hear transformational? And I don't care if you're not a realtor or a chiropractor. I don't care. Don't say, oh, that doesn't apply to me. I'm an electrician. Give me a break. I could sit here all night and give an example for every single person in this room. But I'm asking you to be elevated enough in your thinking to say, to not say, oh, I'm a doctor, so it doesn't apply to me. Oh, chiropractors, sure, them, but not me. Right? It works for every single person in the room. Every single person. So here's an example. from the chiropractor. In the past, when he did a adjustment, how much did he get? $40. Now when he does an adjustment, how much does he get? $99. That's transactional, but it's giant transactional. Okay? But here's the transformational. In the past, when he didn't do an adjustment, how much did he make? Zero. Now listen to it now. He calls up the other struggling chiropractors in the area and says, when you get a patient and your receptionist makes the appointment and they come to your office, so you're paying the rent for your office, you deserve $40. If I get patients for you and you do it at my office and my receptionist does everything, and you just have to come in and go click, 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 I'll give you $20. What will the other chiropractor say? Pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me. Correct? And he's not like hurting them or injuring them in any way. He's offering them a reasonable deal. They don't have to do the marketing. They don't have to wonder about patients. They just come in and do their adjustment. Okay? So listen carefully. In the past, when he didn't do an adjustment, how much did he make? Now when he doesn't do an adjustment, how much does he make? 20. That's transformational. Do you see that? And here's the next thing that's going to happen. He doesn't know this yet. One day he's going to call me up and say, even at 99, I don't want to do them anymore, because I make far more money not doing adjustments. You can make a lot of $20 bills before you wake up in the morning if someone else is doing the work. Do you understand that? So pretty soon he's going to say, even at 99, I don't want it. That's transformational. Because right now, if I said to him that that's what he's going to soon be saying to me, he'd say, oh, that's impossible. And so I'm going to say two things to him. Number one, stop doing adjustments whatsoever and just push them off to the other chiropractors. Or charge $199 or $299 or $399 until the number of adjustments you do gets down to the place you want it to be. Do you get it? He's now choosing his rate so that he can minimize the number of adjustments he does. Whereas before he was choosing the rate to get anybody. Because when you're an indistinguishable nail, that's all you can hope for. Is that exciting? Yeah, huge. Put up your hand if you'd like that kind of change in your life. Okay, good. Let's go on. So what is the conclusion? The conclusion is a giant increase in your income is possible, it's transformational, it's available, and it's way sooner than you think. It's way, way sooner than you think, and I'm going to show you that right now. So you have to climb the ladder of wealth, and let me tell you about it. There are 5 rungs on the ladder of wealth. Let me tell you what they are. The first is visibility. And visibility is the characteristic where people know you. They know you and they know of you. So, like Oprah's boyfriend's name is Stedman Graham. Put up your hand if you've heard of Stedman Graham. So people know. They know Oprah, they know Stedman Graham. Fine. So if you know somebody, if you know of somebody, you have a far greater chance of buying from them than if you don't know them. Obviously. Like nobody says, oh, let's sell our home. I know a realtor, let's use her. Sorry, people do say that. Here's what they don't say. Oh, we need to sell our home. Let's randomly choose a realtor we don't know. Nobody says that. So if you have visibility, you can be chosen. If you don't have visibility, you have nothing. You have nothing whatsoever. So, the very first thing you need is visibility. When I'm coaching somebody and they want more money, the first thing I say to them is, don't try to get more money, try to get more visibility. And I teach them how to get visibility. Through a book, through appearances, through a blog, there's lots of social media on the web. There's lots of ways to do it, and there's some that work really, really well. There's some that you think work but really don't. So number one, you need visibility. The next thing you need is credibility. Just because people know you doesn't mean they like you. More people got to know Tiger Woods after he made his strange, after his strange lifestyle decisions became public. A lot of people who had no interest in golf didn't really know much about him, but now lots and lots of more people know about him. So he's got more visibility but less credibility. And you need visibility and credibility. They have to know of you and like you. Oh, I know that realtor. He's great. Know you and like you. Know you, respect you. You need both. And when you have both, you automatically get the next one, which is wealth. Automatically. There's no example in history of someone who is known and respected who didn't get rich. Well, there are some, but that's because they didn't want rich. For example, Mother Teresa was very well known and very well respected. She got anything she wanted. She could walk into the CEO of any company in the world and walk out with a donation. She didn't get any of it, but she wanted to help the poor people in the back alleys of Calcutta. She got a Nobel Peace Prize, for gosh sakes. How did she do it? Are there other people who work hard to help people in the back streets of other cities in India? Of course there are. But she had visibility and credibility, so she gets the donations, and she got the Nobel Peace Prize. There's lots of others, but they are undistinguishable nails in the bin. And she was branded. Now, you might say, Raymond, it seems to me that we've hit the top. You promised 5 levels of branding, 5 rungs on the ladder of wealth, and you've only shown me 3 and we're already at the top. Sounds like you're under-delivering. And the answer is this. I have only showed you 3 and we are at the top, but there are 2 more rungs and they're underneath. They're in the dark side. Now here's the first one right now. Invisibility. Invisibility is the characteristic that most people in North America have. It's very, very, very sad. Invisibility means that nobody knows you. Almost every employee lives at invisibility, and I'll prove it. When an employee loses his or her job, he updates his resume and then sends the resume to total strangers. Total strangers. Why? Because he's invisible. No one's ever heard of the guy. Now, maybe he's known by a couple dozen people who sit beside him, but they're no good because that's the company you just lost the job from. You can't go apply to them. Almost everybody lives at invisibility, and almost everybody is broken. That's the reason. The lowest level is instability. Financial instability is insolvency, bankruptcy, and emotional instability is suicide, divorce, affairs, depression. Now, there are parts of you at each of these levels. There are parts of you at each of these levels. But I'm going to take a guess that the majority of you lives at that level, invisibility. So, if you want to lose weight, the first thing you need to do is get on a scale and find out where you are now, correct? And so I'm going to ask you to tell the truth. Put up your hand if the majority of you, I don't mean the majority of the room, I mean the majority of you, because there'll be maybe smatterings of you at different levels. Put up your hand if you're willing to confess that the majority of you lives at invisibility. Okay, if you know where you are, then you know, then I know where to take you. So let's start working. 99% of employees live at invisibility. 97% of investors, typically real estate investors, live at invisibility. And a shocking 92% of entrepreneurs live at invisibility. No wonder they can't get deals. No wonder they can't get clients. No wonder they can't make sales. Nobody knows them. Nobody respects them, except a very small group of colleagues and their mother. And that's about it. That's why it's so difficult for people to make money. So we're going to change this. I'm going to change it right now. I don't want that to happen any longer. Where is life the easiest, at the top or the bottom? Can you just pretend you're excited? If I were delivering this speech the way you're responding, we'd all be asleep. I want to be at the top. I would be excited to be in the top 1%. Yippee, show me how. Forget it. Forget it. I mean, they have a nice restaurant here. I think maybe I'll just walk out and go to the restaurant. Because you see, maybe you don't understand the deal. I didn't explain the deal. Here's the deal. I teach you how to get rich. That's my job. Your job is to entertain me. I just forgot to mention that to you. So far, you're failing badly. You have not entertained me. I'm not feeling any love from this group. I don't want to drag 50 people to their wealth if you don't want to go. So here's the deal. I'll drag you to your wealth if you want to go, and you show me that you want to go by showing me lots of love. Are you prepared to show me lots of love? Yes. Okay. I usually speak to 1,000 people at a time. There's 50 people in this room. That means you have to respond as if you're 20 people. Maybe you didn't understand that. You have to respond as if you're 20 people so that I know that I'm loved. Otherwise, we can just have a drink and just forget it all, and I'll stay rich and you'll stay where you are.
Raymond, I love you. Will you show me how to go up there?
Okay, you're in charge. I'll just show you. Okay, so where do you want to be, top or bottom?
Top.
Top. And you typically can take only one step at a time. But there is a way to take a double step. There's only one way to take 2 steps at a time. Only one way. And I'm going to tell you that little known way right now. And that little known way is, here's the big insight, to have your own book. That's the only way. There are ways to take single steps. But there's only one way to take a double step, and that's to write a book. I wouldn't be here if I hadn't written a book. And I've written lots of books, and I'll tell you about them, and I'll tell you how long it took me to write them. And the exciting thing is you can cross over. Every successful person has a book, every single one. And every person who struggles does not have a book. Just think about it. Just think of anybody that you know who's famous, they have a book. Every movie star has a book. Sir Richard Branson has a book. Mother Teresa, you think of anyone that you know, and they have a book. Every single one who is wealthy and successful has a book. Now think of your friends who are struggling. Do they have a book? No. Well, connect the dots, for God's sake. Connect the dots. If you have a book, you can indeed aim higher. So in a recent study conducted by livescience.com, what they found is the top 1%, own 43% of all the financial assets in North America. The top 1% own 43% of all the financial assets in North America. That's the good news. Here's the bad news. Half the population owns under 1% of the financial assets. There are 40 million Canadians. That means 20 million of you scramble to split up the pittance of 1% of financial assets. There's almost 400 million Americans. 200 million Americans scramble for their petty share of less than 1% of all the financial assets in America. That's pathetic. And there's something very common amongst the bottom 200 million Americans and the bottom 20 million Canadians. They don't have a book. They don't have a book. I'm going to show you how to break out of that. I'm going to show you how to get out of the bottom half. I'm going to show you how to get into the top 1%. I'm going to show you that the huge insight is when you have a book the right way, there's wrong ways to have a book, but when you do the book the right way, you get a double jump past visibility and credibility, and people are blown away by you. And when they're blown away by you, they know you and they like you. And when they know you and like you, you're not just a irrelevantly different colored nail in the bin, you're a shining, glowing, interesting nail in the bin, and they won't choose anyone else, they'll choose you. Your sales will go up, your clientele will go up, your rates will go up, everything you want will go up. If you're employed, your salary will go up, your job offers will go up, everything will happen, everything. Here's my life before I had a book. Here's my life, my own life, my real life. I was born broke. Maybe some of you have had that same experience. And then I got a job which I didn't particularly like because I thought that's all I could expect. And because I wasn't particularly happy, I took it out in food and I got quite fat. Because I got fat, I got sick. Because I got fat and sick and didn't like my job, I got fired. I was $100,000 in debt. I came home and told my wife my sad story. She said, "What's your plan?" I told her I didn't have one, and so she booted me out. And I want you to know that getting fired and divorced on the same day are extreme forms of market feedback. the universe taught me a giant lesson that day. The universe taught me that as smart as I was, because I graduated from the University of Toronto as a physicist, I've got a very high IQ. I'm in the top 2% of IQ in the entire world. I've been admitted into Mensa. And as a mathematician, I've been rated as a genius. And with all that IQ, at age 39, I was $100,000 in debt, and I'd just been dumped by my employer and my wife. I was depressed, going nowhere in my life. And even worse, I was behind on my child support payments because I had no income and not a penny to my name. In fact, not a penny to my name. If someone gave me $100,000, I still wouldn't have a penny to my name. I'd have to win $100,000 in a lottery to get up to zero. I was $100,000 underwater and not breathing. Now, luckily, I made a lot of money. I paid back all that child support. But at that time, I had no idea what to do. And then the turning point in my life came, even though I was depressed, the turning point in my life came when someone told me to write a book. I thought that was the stupidest thing. I said, are you kidding? I'm unemployed. I'm depressed. I don't know anything. I just want to commit suicide, for gosh sakes. You're telling me I should write a book? Don't you have to be happy to write a book? Anyways, I learned how to write a book. And as soon as I had a book, I had so much visibility and so much credibility that this is what happened. In fact, I'm going to show you my book. There are people in this room who've been my clients for 28 years. 28 years. And they may have seen this book a long time ago, but they probably haven't seen it for a long time. So please don't laugh. This is actually me on the cover.
I have that book.
You have that book?
Yeah.
You haven't seen it in a long time, though, have you?
I haven't poured it off the shelf in a while.
Yeah, please don't bring it to any other event.
Just sign it.
But you know what? As goofy as that, I mean, that if my daughter in grade 5 came home with a cover like that, I would tell her to go back to her room and do a better job. Someone in grade 5 can do a better job than that. Look at the Canadian flag, my God. It's, and that, my God, my tie wasn't even adjusted correctly. Anyways, I wrote that book and immediately got wealthy. And I'm going to show you exactly what happened. Was it?
You hadn't made $1 million when you wrote the book?
Yes, I did, but it was in real estate.
Yeah.
And so it was stuck in real estate. Try eating a brick. Right? So I was unemployed. I was horribly in debt. I had this net worth in real estate that was caught up in a divorce. And so she and I were contesting. And so I couldn't sell it, she couldn't sell it. And I was sitting there horribly in debt. So I was wealthy and in debt. It was a very awkward and strange situation. So, age 39, I wrote a book. 1 year later, age 40, I was out of debt for the first time in my adult life. And then I said, well, I wonder how far I can take this. And I decided to give it a little more publicity. And in 1 more year, age 41, I was a millionaire, first time in my adult life, and I've never looked back.
From that book?
From that book. From that goofy little book that looks like someone in grade 5. I wouldn't even let my daughter be proud of that. And that's what made me a millionaire. Is that a good deal? Put up your hand if you're getting more and more excited about having a book. Okay. It's not just the book. It's all the spin-offs that come from the book. Like the book, and then the audio book, and then the workshop, and there's all kinds of things that come from it. Okay, so come into my life now. And I'll tell you what my life looks like as a result of having a book. Now other authors want to be with me. You know how dentists have friends who are dentists and electricians have friends who are electricians? If you write a book, suddenly everyone who's written a book wants to talk to you. But really big people have written books. Robert Allen, the #1 greatest real estate teacher of all time, who, by the way, is a Canadian, and by the way, was born in a small town in southern Alberta called Raymond. Always more interesting to me than to anybody else. Now we're good buddies. We're definitely good buddies. Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Good buddies with Robert Kiyosaki. Les Brown, probably the greatest speaker of all time. Good buddies with Les Brown. Marcy Shimoff has written more #1 best-selling books than any woman who has, any nonfiction books of any woman who's ever lived. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Dear friend of mine, we go on vacation twice a year. Twice a year. Bob Proctor lives right here in Toronto, the grandfather of the entire personal growth movement. We have lunch a couple times a year, meet quite often. Why does he want to know me? He isn't going to say, well, I'm not going to talk to you unless you've written a book. But because I've written a book, we got to know each other. It wouldn't have happened otherwise. Mark Victor Hansen, the fastest talking motivational speaker that's ever lived. David Bach, who wrote The Automatic Millionaire. Oprah's boyfriend. And you know, it's unfortunate that he's known more now because he's Oprah's boyfriend. And what it does is detract from his genius. He's on the board of directors of a university in the United States. He's written several books. He's a genius, but everyone totally ignores everything as, oh yeah, Oprah's boyfriend, as if he has no qualifications of his own. Why would Oprah be attracted to somebody and be faithful and committed to the same man for 15 years unless he had giant wisdom to offer her and others? He's an amazing man. If you have a chance to see Oprah, to see Stedman Graham, grab it. Brian Tracy, also Canadian, by the way, born in Edmonton. Gene Simmons, the rock star from Kiss. Maybe you don't recognize him in that picture. Maybe I'll help you out a bit. Donald Trump's right-hand man, George Ross. You may not know that, but he's the real man. Donald Trump bought the #1 best real estate deal of all time, 40 Wall Street. And 40 Wall Street made him $200 million in 3 years. The #1 best real estate deal of all time, and it was George Ross that found it and George Ross that negotiated it. When Donald Trump recently announced that he was considering running for president, do you remember that? Mm-hmm. He watched the news feedback. He talked to important friends and colleagues. And then on the day he had to make his decision, he walked into George Ross's office, shut the door, and said yes or no, and George Ross said no. He didn't run for president. Maybe that's a good thing. But the important thing is, this is the man behind Donald Trump. And we're good buddies. This picture was taken on the top floor of the Trump Tower in George Ross's office, just a few feet from Donald Trump's office. There's Donald Trump himself. We're buddies. Brian Mulroney, Prime Minister of Canada, wrote a book, called it Brian Mulroney. And Rudy Giuliani, the world's mayor. It's not what you know. It's not who you know. It's who knows you. It's who knows you. I got invited to a wedding on the weekend. It's possibly the most expensive and lavish wedding that's been hosted in the last 10 years, even including Hollywood. And I got invited. There were billionaires there that I got to know. And I got invited because someone who has written 15 books knows me well and invited me. Just to give you an example of the kind of lavish thing, in this guy's backyard, he erected a tent for his 800 guests in the backyard of his home. The tent had a footprint larger than a football field for the wedding. Plus, there was another tent behind it on his backyard for the services, for the washrooms, for the kitchen, for the cleaning staff, for the liquor, for the refrigerators. I got invited to that. I got to meet billionaires just last weekend, just a few days ago, that I would never, ever get to meet. They came up to me. Hi, what are you doing here? Hi, what's your connection? Oh, I'm a colleague of the father of the bride. Oh my gosh, how do you know him? Isn't that great? We started chatting like we're old buddies, me and these billionaires. It's only because of the books that I've written that attracted me, that got me. It's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who knows you. And who knows you will be other famous people who've written books as soon as you've written a book. So here's a giant insight for you. I want you to yell out the last word. Wait till we get to it. If you're important, you've written a book. Okay, we've already covered that, right? But here's the killer. Here's the killer. I want everyone to yell out the answer. So if you've written a book, everybody assumes that you're important. And that's the killer line. That's the killer line. That's the crux of the entire presentation. Because you said it, I didn't. I animated that word after you said it. So, if you're important, you've written a book. So if you've written a book, everyone knows you're important. Everybody knows you're important. You've written a book? Oh my gosh. Because the idiom in the English language that's used to express the awe that another person is an expert, the idiom that is used is, he wrote the book on it. Does he know anything about that? Does he know anything? He wrote the book on it. Even if he hasn't written a book, that's the expression that's used. Do you understand that? It's not in any other language, just in English. He wrote the book on it. So if you've actually written a book, people are blown away. They're just completely blown away. You have a book inside of you. It's time to get it out. It's time to get it out. Put up your hand if you know you have a book inside of you. You may not know what it's called. You may not know how to use it exactly. Yeah, if your hand's not up, I'll show you what the topic is that'll blow you away. Now, let me tell you something. If you think that you don't have a book inside you or a book isn't important, wait till you hear this. I know lots and lots and lots of famous people. Jack Canfield, Dr. John Gray, Stephen M. R. Covey, just lots and lots of famous people. They get asked once a day, and I'm not exaggerating, once a day to write a foreword or a testimonial for someone's book. People that were in their workshop like 15 years ago that they could never even possibly remember. Oh, I was in your workshop 15 years ago. Will you write the foreword for my book? And so famous people would say, they would be nice. They'd say, okay, I'll do you a favor. And they would write it. But then what would happen is the person would say, oh, I wrote a book. Look who wrote the foreword to it. People would say, wow, that person wrote the foreword. Must be an amazing book. And the authors would get gigantic celebrity and gigantic increase in their income. And so what famous people are doing now is selling forewords. Because if you have a foreword by a famous person, it's like you're famous. It's like you've got the endorsement from the gods. And I'm not saying this person charged, but I'm just going to give you an example. A woman that I go on vacation with twice a year said to me at our last semi-annual vacation that she wrote a book on personal growth. And I said, oh, is it any good? Just as a joke, just to tease her a bit. I said, is it any good? And here's what she said. You know who wrote the foreword? I said, no. She said, the Dalai Lama. I said, oh, okay, it's a good book. Do you get it? Like, I didn't ask what the chapters were. I didn't ask what it's about. I didn't ask how many it sold. I didn't ask what the New York Times review on it was. She just told me who wrote the foreword, and I'm buying the book. That's how valuable a foreword is. It's not a very pleasant little business, but there's lots of famous people who are selling their name on a foreword for $50,000. Because they know that it's worth $50,000 to you because of the money that you'll make on that. Do you understand that? Okay, so another big insight. Every wealthy person and company is branded. Every single one. If I said Nike to you, you'd say swoosh. You don't know why you're saying swoosh, and you don't know if Nike sales would go down or up if it didn't have a swoosh. But somehow you know Nike swoosh, Nike swoosh. You just know that they're together, but you don't necessarily know why. So I'm going to start explaining it to you. If some other company besides Apple had come out with a product identical to the iPad, but a year earlier, okay? Let's say Sony, good name. Sony had come out with the iPad a year before Apple. Would it have sold as well, yes or no? No. No, and you all know that. It's the same product. It's exactly the same product. A year earlier makes it even a better product, and everyone in the room says, no, it would not have sold as well. Why? Because Apple has a better brand than Sony. It's not the product. You just proved it. It's not the product. Let me give you another example. Heinz ketchup. I want you to yell out the answers to this. Everyone, you promise to yell it out? Yes. Should Heinz ketchup manufacture cars, yes or no? No, but if they did, what color should those cars be? Yes. Branding made you say that. Branding made you say that Heinz ketchup has to produce red cars. Branding made you say that. Every wealthy person has a brand. Every successful company has a brand. You don't. So let's learn branding right now. You absolutely need to be branded. And there are 4 ways. I'm going to teach you the 4 ways right now. The first way is branding by association. If you're associated with big people, then by extension, you're a big person. Now, unfortunately, you may not have a stellar constellation of super famous people like that. And so I'm going to ask you a question. When you look at that, tell me honestly, put up your hand and tell me honestly how you feel about me when you see those pictures. Put up your hand and tell me. Yes.
Credible.
I'm credible.
Successful.
Successful.
Famous.
Famous. Important. Integrity. Now listen to those. I may not be wealthy or integrity or famous or anything, but as soon as you see that, you're sure I am. That's branding by association. But unfortunately, you may not have colleagues like that. So you may not be able to use branding by association. It's okay, there's 3 other ways. The next one is called branding by testimonial. So I'll give you an example. I'm sure you've heard of Robert Kiyosaki, and Robert Kiyosaki wrote the amazing book Rich Dad Poor Dad. But I like his second book much better, and that's Cash Flow Quadrant. And I'm going to tell you a testimonial that Robert Kiyosaki says of me. He says, I thank Raymond Aron and his tapes on goal setting for helping me achieve more with less stress. Robert Kiyosaki said that. How do you know he said that? Because he wrote it on page 187 of his second book. In fact, I've underlined it for you, and there it is. I thank Raymond Aron and his tape on goal setting for assisting me in achieving more with a lot less stress. If you look at Jack Canfield's book, Success Factors, 64 Success Factors, one of the 64 success factors, I was the #1 example, the only example that he used of how to use that success factor. He interviewed me for that book. And so lots of famous people have put me in their book, Robert Kiyosaki being an outstanding example. So I'm not wealthy because Robert Kiyosaki was my client, which he was. And I'm not wealthy because I really helped Robert Kiyosaki. I'm wealthy because I was in Kiyosaki's book. The day that Kiyosaki's book came out, the switchboard of my office lit up like a Christmas tree. And people kept saying, are you the Raymond Aron that's in Robert Kiyosaki's book? And I said, no, not me. I'd like to be. I don't know what other Raymond Aron there is, but it ain't me. I'm not in his book. What book are you talking about? Cash Flow Quadrant? Never heard of that book. Hello, are you the Raymond Aron? No, I'm not. Why are you calling? Hello, are you the Raymond? No. I said to my staff, you know what? Go to the bookstore and buy Kiyosaki's latest book. And there it is. In fact, the entire page 186 and the entire page 187 is dedicated to me because I helped him so much. But you may not have great testimonials. But don't worry, there's still 2 left. So the second way is branding by achievement. I've been in the Canadian Who's Who for 20 straight years. And in every single year, I've been on the very first page, though that's mostly for alphabetical reasons. I'm also internationally syndicated in 4 major world cities. And I got on radio because I have a book. I had a 1-hour TV show right here in the Toronto area as a test. They call it a pilot. And it went very well. So they've offered me a second pilot in January. In January. This coming January, like a month from now. Another pilot, another 1-hour pilot, so I'm working on that right now. And if the first one is good, which it was, they've already acknowledged that, they said there'd be a second one. If that one's good, on a completely different topic, they'll give me my own 1-hour show every week for a year. I'll be a TV? Yeah.
This is not still the real estate book.
Pardon me?
This is different books that you've written, right? Not the real estate book.
It's because of all my books
Right.
that I got on that. And here's the funny thing. I'll get a phone call, and sometimes I'll pick it up and say to my staff, They'll say, hello, are you Raymond Aaron? Yes. We're interested in having you as a guest. I'm the producer of a TV show or a radio show. We're interested in having you as a guest. When will you be in Calgary or New York or Los Angeles next? And I'll tell them, we'd love you to be a guest on our show. I said, okay. And they said, what's the name of your book? And I know that's all they want, but I tease them a bit. I say, do you know that I am the author of 800 audio CD programs? This long pause. But what's the title of your book? Do you know that I've done almost 400 video DVD cassettes? You don't have a book? Actually, I do, and then I tell them the name of my books. But I just want, just for fun. Like, it doesn't matter what I've done. It doesn't matter how many lives I've changed. It doesn't matter that I've given 5,000 speeches in 28 years in Dubai, Ireland, England, Canada, the United States, Australia, New Zealand. Nothing matters except what's the name of your book. That's all they want. They don't care that I've changed people's lives. They don't care that two children of my clients have been named after me. They don't care that people have been moved so much by me that they've named their child after me. They just want to know the name of my book. And so, what is the lesson to you? Write a book. Write a book. So, there were only 40 teachers filmed for the movie The Secret. I was one of them. And I also have another achievement that many of you know, but there's some here who are new and don't know. This achievement is quite shocking and quite different from any of the others, and that is I entered what's been called probably the world's toughest race. It's called Polar Race. It is a 350-mile, month-long foot race to the North Pole. And the average temperature is minus 40 degrees. We have to carry all of our equipment with us, which weighs 100 pounds, or at least drag it behind us. And the worst danger is polar bears. A 350-mile, month-long foot race to the North Pole hauling a 100-pound sled at minus 40 degrees. And I did it. I did it, and I got there when I was 62 years old. And it's called probably the world's most difficult race, and I'll compare it for you. 160 people have crossed the Atlantic Ocean in a rowboat. 400 people have been to outer space. 2,000 climbers have conquered Everest. 5,000 runners have broken the 4-minute mile. But in all of human history, only 200 people have ever been to the North Pole by foot. And I'm one of them. Want to see a picture of me at the North Pole?
Yeah.
That's a picture of me at the North Pole. And your first question is, where's the pole? Well, it turns out that the North Pole is in the middle of the Arctic Ocean. And so there is no monument possible, because if they actually put a pole there, the next day it would be in the wrong place, because the ice moves. And of course, there's no Santa factory. And if you're disappointed, imagine how I felt. In any case, that was a very happy day. That is the exact North Pole halfway between my boots. Right there. I could tell by my GPS I was actually standing on the North Pole. It was a happy day, but not every day was a happy day. One day was a particularly unhappy day because the temperature hit minus 68. I cannot tell you what minus 68 is like, but I can show you.
Wow.
My lips were cracked and bleeding. I had snow blindness. My nose cracked right open, you can see here, because there's no humidity whatsoever in the high Arctic. So my thumb cracked right open. I could see right down to my bone. I had frostbite all over my face. I wasn't thinking clearly. They were actually on this day thinking of yanking me out of the race, because they asked me questions like, what's your name? In what city were you born? And I got all the answers correct, but they said it took a long time for me to process those tough questions.
When was this?
It was 5 years ago. You'll see. And the worst picture is this one, the day after the race. And I don't know how old you think I am, but as I stand here, I'm 67 years old. I got to the North Pole when I was 62. One of the oldest people ever to get to either pole. Now, why did I tell you all that? Because Oh, yeah, and I was thinking of writing a book on wealth lessons I've learned from Polar Race. I was thinking of calling it How You Can Get Rich Without Getting Cold. But my publisher said, we'll talk, which means we're not going to talk. Anyways, you may not have great achievements like that. You may not have great achievements like that. But don't worry, there's still one left. And the one left is branding by wow. When you're branded by wow, people are just so moved by you, they'll do anything that you ask. So what is the easiest wow? The easiest wow is write a book. It's the easiest wow there is. I'll sit beside someone on an airplane in business class, and the guy will say to me, hi, what's your name? Raymond. What do you do? I teach you how to double your income doing what you love. Get out. How do I know? Like, what are your credentials? I said, I wrote the book. What book? Double your income doing what you love. And the guy's speechless. The last time it happened, he said, we got a 5-hour flight, do me. Go ahead. Double my income doing what I love. Because if I say that I can do something, then maybe I can, maybe I can't. But if I've written a book on it, and the book has the same name, do you get it? Like if I say I'm the realtor that gets you into a home larger than you thought you could afford, well, maybe I can, maybe I can't. But if I wrote a book called Getting into a Home Larger Than You Thought You Could Afford, and it's written by me, that proves it. But they're both from me, and so it seems like it's two independent sources, but it's the same source. It just blows people away. It's the biggest wow you could ever do. The biggest wow there is. And let me talk about that right now. Because what do you do with practically every business card you get right after the giver of that card turns away? You put it in your pocket, it's not what other people do. Throw it in the garbage. If 99% of the business cards that you get, you throw in the garbage, then 99% of the business cards you give get thrown in the garbage. And what I caution my clients against is doing things that don't work. I say to people, how many business cards have you received in your life? They'll say, thousands. Show them to me. Well, I don't have them. Well, where are they? I threw them out. How many? Well, probably all of them. Well, if you're throwing out their cards, they're throwing out your cards. You're printing up these cards and they get thrown out. Don't do that. Here's what I teach my clients to do. Hi, what's your name? Raymond. What do you do? I help you double your income doing what you love. Get out! Do you have a card? No. You don't have a card? No. Well, but I have a book. You have a book? What does that mean? I have a book. It's called Double Your Income Doing What You Love. Get out! That's amazing! Wow! I actually have one here. Can I autograph it for you? Oh, I'd love to. Put my wife's name into it. That'd be great. Oh, and here's my contact information right on the autograph page. Are they going to throw that out? No way they're going to throw that out. No way at all they're going to throw that out. That's how you can make introductions powerful. Nobody goes home from a networking event and says to their wife, guess what? I got some business cards tonight. I got some business cards. Yeah, man, I got some business cards. Nobody says that. But they might have met 50 people, and they'll come home and say to the wife, there was a guy, he wrote a book, Double Your Income, Doing What You Love. Look, he autographed it. Look at this. They met 50 people. They talk about me. Why? Because I gave them a book. That's the difference. Maybe the other people are better in their field than I am in mine. Maybe the dentist they met is the world's greatest dentist. But they're not going to go to their wife and say, I met a dentist. But they'll talk about me. And it doesn't mean, it's not because I'm a professional speaker. I could be a dentist or an electrician or an ostrich farmer. As long as I've written a book, they're blown away. That's what you're missing. That's the transformational change that you're missing. So let's get going. There's different levels of branding. The lowest level is brand absence, which means you don't have a brand. And the reason I mention that is because it's worthless, and that's where practically everybody is. It's completely worthless, but that's where practically everybody is. The next level of real branding is brand awareness, and that's not worth much. That's worth maybe 1 out of 10. Why is it not worth much? Because I'm aware of the brand Iceland, but I've never gone there and have no plans. So what good does it do the Minister of Tourism of the country of Iceland that I'm aware of the brand Iceland? What good does it do?
None.
Nothing. Nothing whatsoever. It's better than nothing, but not much.
I flew over Iceland yesterday, actually.
Well done. I'm glad you arrived safely. Brand preference, that's nice, but that's about 3 out of 10. I prefer budget rent-a-car. So I go to their kiosk first. If they have a car, they get my business. That's good. If they don't have a car, I always say to myself, who cares? I'll go to any other one. Who cares? It's not as if budget has special Ford cars that the others don't know about. Like they all have exactly the same cars. And they offer the same service. Here's your key. It's install 46. Return it on time. What else are they going to say? They all say the same thing. They give the same service. They offer the same cars. Why should I have brand preference? But I do. I don't know. I like their color scheme or something. I don't know. And then the one that's the best is brand insistence. Brand insistence. You see, brand insistence is 10 out of 10. Why? Because if you're a merchant or a professional or a tradesman or anything, or salesman, and someone is brand insistent on you, then you get 100 pennies on every dollar they spend in that category. So I'm brand insistent on Apple. If Apple offers it, I buy it from Apple. I won't buy anything else. If you give me a Dell computer, give it to me as a gift, I won't take it because I don't want to have to be burdened with weaker technology than Apple. I don't even want it. If you forced it on me, I would sell it tonight on eBay. I'm not interested. And by the way, brand insistence is hereditary. Let me prove it to you. Last Christmas, I said to my daughters, you can buy a PC on your own, if you wish, or for Christmas, I'll buy you a Mac. And they both chose a Mac. So you see, brand insistence is hereditary. I don't know. I can't explain it, but... And by the way, that's not the best one. The best one is brand advocacy. Because you see, brand advocacy is 12 out of 10. Brand insistence, you get 100 pennies on every dollar they spend. But on brand advocacy, you also get their friends. So movies live off brand advocacy. Movies open on Friday, and lots of early adapters go on Friday night, stand in line to see a big movie, and then they tweet about it, and they Facebook about it, and they phone their friends about it, so their friends go on Saturday, and that's why the better movies get greater box office on the first weekend, because the Friday people tell the Saturday people who tell the Sunday people. And that's how the first weekend grows. It all happens by brand advocacy. You can advertise as much as you want. You can spend $100 million on advertising. But somebody puts up a Facebook message saying, oh, you should see that movie, it's great. Bam! 100,000 people go. So, where are most people, at the top or bottom of the branding ladder? At the bottom. Where are sales the easiest? At the top. Where do you want to be? At the top. How do you rise? And here's the answer. How you rise is through wows. Every wow experience, if you're a merchant, every wow experience that you deliver to others moves you up the branding ladder. So, having a book is the hugest and easiest wow that you can have. Hugest and easiest wow that you can have. And you have a book inside of you, it's about time to get it out. You would have never heard the name Tim Ferriss if it weren't for the 4-hour work week. He now gets $100,000 for every speech. Why? Who the heck is that guy? You have no idea. If you walked in, you wouldn't know him. But you know the name of the book. You'd never know Eckhart Tolle, except Oprah read his book, loved it, and did a 10-part webinar series on him, the biggest webinar of all time, but only because he had a book. Jack Canfield, you'd never know his name if it weren't for the Chicken Soup books. You know people because of their book. And that's why you need a book. So now I want to totally wow you. Are you ready? Yeah. Okay, here we go. Took me 4 years to write Chicken Soup for the Parent Soul. 4 years. I had to collect 4,000 stories over a 4-year period and winnow it down to 101 stories good enough to be in a Chicken Soup book. 4 years. Took me 4 years to write Chicken Soup for the Canadian Soul. which was the #1 best-selling book in Canada every single week for 6 months after its release. And it was groundbreakingly important because it was the first time that Americans found out that Canadians had a soul. Then I got a little smarter. Double Your Income Doing What You Love took me 1 year. And then this book, the Monthly Mentor Goal Handbook, took me 1 year. So listen carefully. I wrote a book, I got rich. You want rich, you need a book. Do you get it? Like, I don't know if it's true, but my guess is that I'm wealthier than any person in this room. I don't know if it's true, but my guess is that I earn more each year than everybody in this room combined. And here's my other guess, that I've written a book and you haven't. It's just my guess. So, I mean, connect the dots. How many times do I have to say it for you to get it? My income is probably higher than everybody's in the room combined. I've written a book, you haven't. I mean, right here, there's nobody saying, oh yeah, I've got a book. Like, nobody. Why? Because you think it's too difficult? Yes, you do. Because you think it's too difficult, or because you don't know what topic to write it on, or even if you wrote it, you don't know how to monetize it. Okay, so would you like to write a book? Yeah. Okay. If it took you 1 to 4 years, it would still be worthwhile, because that's how long it took me to write my books. But I'm not going to do that to you. Would you be interested in having a life change in only 6 months? Yeah. That's not good enough. When I tell you the next number, it's not going to be transactionally better. It's going to be transformationally better. That means it's going to be in a ballpark beyond what you could even imagine. Are you ready for this? 10 hours. Do you hear what he said? Say it louder. Wow. Now, when he said wow, what happened to his impression of me in his mind? It shot up. That's how my brand rises, when he says wow. Every time one of my clients or prospects says wow, I shoot up the branding ladder. Remember I told you how you move up the branding ladder is with every wow? I said something, he said wow, I shot up the branding ladder. If you can wow people, are sales easier or tougher? Easier. That's how I get rich. That's it. That's how I get rich. So, here's my next bestseller. The fastest, surest way to get what you want. I'm writing it in 10 hours. In 10 hours. Only 10 hours, and I mean it. 10 hours. When I want more visibility, more credibility, and more money, I know exactly what to do. What do? I write a book. When you want more money, you just kind of hope for it, wish for it, buy a lottery ticket, wait till Christmas, whatever. Because you don't know the path. And the path is writing a book. So I've got a huge announcement for you. You might say, well, Raymond, you've written 2 chicken soup books, you've written other books, you're so famous. But are you forgetting that at age 39, I was $100,000 in debt, I had no job, I'd just been booted out by my wife, and I was depressed. So I am not immune to having bad times. I've had horribly bad times. And I got out of those bad times by writing a book. So if I get out by writing a book, and then every time I write a book, I capture a new audience. Like when I wrote the chicken soup books, I captured a whole new audience, the heart audience. And so every time I write a book, it's to capture a totally new audience. Wait till you see this announcement. You've heard of the For Dummies series of books? Yes. I'm their next author. They just gave me the nod as their next author, and the book is called Branding Small Business for Dummies. All of a sudden, I've got the heart audience from Chicken Soup books, and I'm going to have the do-it-yourself audience from the For Dummies book. I'll get a whole new million people who will know me, visibility, and be impressed with me, credibility. A whole new group of people, a whole new million people who want to buy products and services from me because of that. I may well be the only person in history to ever do a chicken soup book and a For Dummies book. And at 39, I was depressed. And then I wrote a book. Life turned around. and I still write books. Why? Because when you write one book, you get a giant increase in your income. So write 2 books and get even more. And I talk to my coaching clients every day and say, I want more money, I want more money. I said, fine, let me help you write a book. That's the secret. So, are you getting that message?
Yep.
Okay, good. Would you like to write a book in only 10 hours?
Yes.
All right. Would you like to get huge visibility and instant credibility in only 10 hours? Okay. You have a book inside you. It's way past time to get it out. Way, way past time. Here's your current situation. You just can't get it all done. You just can't get it all done. And you're racing from one place to another. You spend an hour at work and you get an hour of work done, and then you spend an hour trying to buy some real estate and you get an hour of real estate done, and then you spend an hour on vacation and you get an hour of vacation done, and then you spend an hour at church and you get an hour of worship done, then you spend an hour in the gym and get an hour of gym done, and then you spend an hour with your family and get an hour of family done, and you're exhausted. You spend 5 hours doing 5 things, they don't relate to each other in any way. At the end of the 5 hours, you're exhausted, and you got 5 hours of stuff done. Put up your hand if you feel exhausted in your life. Well, most people feel exhausted and overwhelmed, and they also feel a victim of economic cycles. If interest rates go up, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in trouble. If the credit card companies increase the interest rate on my credit card balance, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in trouble. If my house price falls down, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in trouble. If the stock market falls, oh my gosh, I'll be in trouble. It'll wipe out my retirement savings. Everybody's in trouble. Everybody is at risk of, at the effect of macroeconomic cycles. Everybody's worried about that. But I want you to be in complete harmony and in complete balance. I want you to be more like Apple Computers that's making money no matter what the world is doing. And so I'm going to totally wow you right now, completely wow you with intentional congruence. Intentional congruence is the #1 most powerful, most senior concept I have ever been taught by my coach. Are you ready for this? This will blow you away more than anything that you have ever experienced. Intentional congruence is that which allows me to do 1 hour of work and get 5 hours of work done, so that I have no overwhelm in my life whatsoever. Would you like to have that? Intentional congruence is what allows me to be completely immune from economic downturns. Completely immune. Portugal, Ireland, and Greece, plus Spain and Italy can go bankrupt if they want. The euro can fall apart. Doesn't influence me in any way. I'm just going to get richer and richer and richer. You want me to show you how to do that? It's called intentional congruence. You'll never forget this again. It requires zero-based thinking. It's going to be the biggest idea you've ever come across. And here it is. The way you start is by putting a sun in the center. And you're not going to have time to do this. I'm just going to show it to you. And the sun in the center is your work, what it is that you do. And it could be your current work, that is your current major source of income, or it could be your intended major source of income. So maybe you're an employee, but you want to launch your business, you'd put your business there. So you either put your current major source of income, or you put your intended major source of income. Do you understand that? Okay, so we're not going to do yours, we're going to do mine, so you can see how it works, and once you understand mine, you can do your own. Do you understand that? So this is an example. So we're doing mine. So what is my major work? It's coaching. The biggest way that I help people around the world is by coaching them. I've got clients around the world. So now I have my sun in the middle of my universe. So the second thing I do is I have to put planets around the sun. And the planets are other ways that I earn money besides coaching. So one way that I earn money besides coaching is by writing a book. I make lots of money writing books. The books allow me to do other things, but the books themselves actually make me money. And another is real estate. I make a lot of money in real estate, and I make a lot of money in the media. That is in physical, real media, like radio and television, and newspapers and magazines, and in virtual media, like Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., and YouTube, and e-zine articles, and all of them. So this is not really my intentional congruence galaxy. I've got about 15 ways that I earn money, but just to make a simplified example for you, I'll just show you 3 of them. And then, this is critically important, you then put all the non-financial ways that you spend your time. So I spend my time with my family, I spend my time leisure, that is relaxing or going on vacation, and I spend my time giving. I have my own charity called Eyes of Children, in which I fund surgeries for children who otherwise would be blind in third world countries. I don't pay for the surgeon time, I don't pay for their flights over to Vietnam and such, and the local village puts them up and feeds them. I just pay for the physical tools they need. That is the anesthesia, what do you call it? The serum, and the scalpels and the sterilization equipment. So I can save a child's eyesight for between $25 and $300. If my daughter were at risk of losing her eyesight, I would sell my home. I would give her anything to save her eyesight. There's a father in a disadvantaged portion of the world who loves his daughter as much as I love mine and has nothing to give her. And so I can save his daughter's eyesight for between $25 and $300. Thank you. And so that's my charity of choice. And by the way, if you want to set up a charity of choice, you have to remember that it has to be relevant. And so how is mine relevant? I give you vision for your future, and so I give children eyesight. There has to be a relationship. If I donated to breast cancer, you'd say, do you only help female authors? Like, it wouldn't make sense to you. And so it has to be relevant. Okay, so, and I have other things that I do, like working out. I mean, there's lots of things that I do. But I'm just giving you 3 things I do in my non-financial life and 3 things I do in my financial life around the sun of coaching. So now we've created my galaxy. Now we have to do something about it. First of all, just creating your galaxy will give you great wisdom because it'll show you exactly how you spend your time. Like, people actually will have to admit that they spend like 15 hours a week watching television and another 10 hours a week just listening to brainless radio as they're driving their car, and they realize they're wasting half their life and they're wondering why they're not getting rich. So at least what that does is show you where you are, how you spend your time. And then number 3 is the sun supports the planets. The sun supports the planets. And it's like this. You draw an arrow from coaching out to one of the planets. And what does that arrow mean? Well, the arrow means, how does coaching support book? How does the sun support the planet? And there's 3 types of arrows. Absent means no support whatsoever. Thin means little support or occasional support. And fat means huge support. So what kind of arrow do you want? Fat. And so the question is, how does coach support book? And the answer is, it's a fat arrow. Let me show you that. See there? And how does coach support book? And the answer is, when I'm coaching students anyway, that's the big word of intentional congruence, anyway. When I'm coaching students anyway, I'm listening to what their problems are. And if all my coaching students are asking me the same question, I write a book on it. Because if all my coaching students that represent a cross-section of people from around the world, if they're all worrying about the same thing, then I know that book is going to be something that the general public wants. Do you understand that? I'm coaching anyway, but in the back of my mind, I'm getting a book written because the coaching is choosing a topic for the book. So then I go around, how does coaching support real estate? Well, when I'm coaching, often on real estate, I get asked ingenious questions, and it forces me to stay on my toes, and people will alert me to opportunities there are going on around the world. Someone will say, hi, I live in Christchurch, New Zealand, or I live in Dubai, or I live in Texas, and they'll tell me about an amazing deal they got, and there's lots of them. I say, you're kidding. And then I go and buy there. So when I'm coaching, I'm buying real estate. And how much do you make when you buy a good piece of real estate? $100,000, $200,000, $300,000? You buy 2 or 3 of those a month, you're making $1 million a month or $500,000 a month just because I'm coaching anyway. Do you understand that? I'm coaching anyway. I'm making money when I'm coaching anyway, but on the side I'm making $500,000 to $1 million extra on real estate because I'm finding out about real estate opportunities. How does coaching support the media? Well, that's easy. When I'm coaching somebody and I'm finding out something exciting, or I buy a piece of real estate that I'm going to make a few $100,000 on, I post it on Facebook and Twitter, and people like me like crazy. They say, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's fascinating. Well, I want to learn from you. And so I get lots of action, and I'm coaching anyways. How does coaching support giving? I take a certain percentage of my coaching revenue and donate it to my own charity? How does coaching support leisure? Well, that's easy. I make a lot of money coaching, and so I can afford lots of trips. But also, if I have a client in Dubai, I'll say to my client, you know what? I think the next session we have to do face-to-face. Don't worry, I'll fund the trip myself. And I better bring my wife. And so my wife and I fly there, and we write it off because I've got a coaching client there. And how does coaching support family? How does coaching support my family? Well, when I'm coaching, I make well, here, I'll give you a different example. My wife was the top salesman for a company for 8 straight years, and then she got a giant raise to be the president, and after 1 year, she did such a good job that the owner gave her another giant raise. So I said to her, you earned very, very well as the top salesman of the company, and then you got 2 giant raises in a row. What was the reason? She said, it was you. I said, what do you mean? Because I met her just a few years ago. And I said, well, what do you mean? I don't understand. She says, well, you're coaching me. I said, I do not coach wife. I learned that in one of my trial marriages. You do not coach wife. And she said, well, no, but you know when you're coaching, I curl up in the chair and I'm reading one of my magazines? I said, yeah. She said, well, I'm not reading the magazine, I'm listening. And when a coaching student asks a question, I frame my answer, and then I listen to your answer, and whenever your answers are better than mine, I think about that, and I incorporate that into my business. That's probably why I was promoted to president, and probably why I got a giant raise. In her first year as president, she increased the sales of the company by 30%. 30%. And that's without her as the salesman. She was the top salesman. They lost the top salesman, and the sales went up by 30% because she's such a great leader. So that's how coaching supports all my other non-financial ways that I spend money, and spend my time, and it supports all the business things. But it gets better. First of all, that's terrific. Do you understand that? It could be because I'm more self-contained, but now it gets better. Watch this. The planets support the sun. So, book supports coaching. How does book support coaching? That's easy. When I'm offering coaching to somebody and they found out that I wrote all these books, they say, great, I want you. So it's very, very easy for me to offer coaching when people found out that I've written a book. How does real estate support coaching? Well, that's easy. I purchased 1,100 properties across Canada, the United States, and the Caribbean. And so I know just about everything there is to know about real estate, so I can answer anybody's questions in coaching. So when I'm buying real estate, anyway, I'm also being a better coach. And media, I can go around and around and around and around. I mean, here's what's happening. Gets even better than this. Each planet supports every other planet. Wait till you see this one. We'll take book, for example. How does book support real estate? How does book support the media? Well, I don't get on the media unless I've written a book. How does book support giving? Well, I take a percentage of the revenue I get from my books and I donate it. So when I'm writing a book anyways, I'm also saving children's eyesight. How does book support leisure? It's so important for me to think clearly when I'm writing a book. I sometimes have to go on vacation with my wife to the Caribbean. Just nothing else I can do. I've just got to go to the Caribbean and lie on a beach for a week when I write a book. And so here's what's happening to me. Oh, and by the way, also, all the other planets have to support book. And then you take real estate. How does real estate support all the other planets? And how do all the other planets support real estate? And you go around the entire thing. So here's what happens. Every part supports every other part. Every part supports every other part. And why is that important? Because you're doing it anyway. You're doing it anyway. And so the sun is supporting the planets are supporting the sun, and every planet is supporting every other planet. So when I'm coaching anyway, I'm also writing a book. When I'm writing a book, I'm also getting onto the media, which makes me another several $100,000 a year. When I'm on the media anyways, I mention that I buy real estate, and if anyone out there has a great property, but you don't have the funding, just call this number and maybe I'll fund your deal, and I'll get 20, 30 properties on which I may make $100,000 in each one because I'm doing the media anyway. And when I'm making money in real estate anyway, then if I have enough clever ideas on it, I write another book on it. When I'm writing a book, some of the proceeds go to the charity. And when I'm giving to charity anyways, people say, gee, you give that much to charity? What a wonderful man you are. I would love to be a coaching client of yours. And when I'm coaching anyways, it makes me enough money that I can take a vacation anywhere in the world. When I'm taking a vacation anyways, I might as well write a book. When I'm writing a book, I might as well bring my family along with me. When I'm enjoying my family, I might as well write a book. When I'm writing a book, I might as well give speeches on it, and on and on and on. Everything is helping everything else. I'm a fortress. I'm an indestructible fortress. Nothing can touch me because every part of my business is supporting every other part of my business. When I'm giving a speech, I'm also writing a book and coaching and donating to charity. When I'm donating to charity, I'm getting coaching clients. And then all of that gets put on Facebook, and even more people like me, and even more people come to see me, and I get even more sales, and then I write a book on it. And when I'm writing a book, do you get it? I do one thing and I get 5 hours of work done. People say, Raymond, I run one job and I'm overworked, and you run 15 companies. You've got all this real estate. You give speeches all over the world. You're the highest level of frequent flyer that Air Canada recognizes. You have a fabulous marriage. You got 2 daughters, 2 granddaughters, and, 2 daughters, 2 stepdaughters, and 3 granddaughters. How do you keep track of it all? And the answer is intentional congruence. Put up your hand if you're blown away by intentional congruence. The most senior thing I know. And I've just given you a several-minute explanation of it at the, from the 5 mile up level. When you actually get into it and realize the power of it, and realize how every time you do one thing, you're automatically doing other things, then all of a sudden overwhelm goes away. You're immune from economic downturns. Intentional congruence gets you a good life. It gets you, in particular, the 4S good life. And let me tell you what the 4S good life is. This is very, very important. You go to school, and then you struggle a bit after school, and then you get some success, and then you get significance. That's the 4S definition of a good life. School, struggle, success, significance. But that's not what most people experience. They experience the 3S bad life. And here's the 3S bad life. School, struggle, stuck. School, struggle, stuck. Put up your hand if you know people who are doing that one. Practically everybody I talk to is stuck. They say, Raymond, I'm stuck. I say, tell me about your income. Or tell me about your income in the last 5 years. They say, roughly the same. Or they'll say it's down. Or they'll say, I've lost my job, I got no income. Or I'm in a business and I'm making about the same as I was in my job, but I'm working 80 hours a week instead of 40. So in other words, for most people, their life's going downhill, or at best staying the same, and they're stuck. And I say, how many books have you written in the last 5 years? They say, how many books? Are you nuts? Well, none, of course. And then they laugh. How many books? That's it's ridiculous. How's your intentional congruence? Intentional what? Nothing. They don't know anything. They don't know anything. And they're stuck, and they deserve to be. They deserve to be. So, the 4S good life is the top 1%. That's the top 1%. Those are the people who are moving up. When you're moving up, you get into the top 1% so easily. $250,000 a year, stop thinking of that as a lot of money. Honest to God, I don't know how to keep my income that low. I don't know how. I told you, I don't know how to go to work every day and work every day and keep my income that low. I don't know how to do that. You know how to do that. Shame on you. It's because everyone you know knows how to do it, so you think it's normal. But a koi fish in a jar, a fishbowl, grows to about 2 inches. You take that same koi fish, pick it up in your hand, and throw it into a lake, and it grows to 1 foot. You grow according to the size of your container. And you've been staying in a petty little container called your friends. They're nice people, but their income is as low as yours. How do I know that? Because they're your friends. You choose friends who have the same income. Because if you had a friend who was a billionaire, you couldn't talk to them. You talk to them about your barbecue not working or having a party next weekend, and they'd be saying to you, should I buy this company for 1.3 billion, or do you think I should try to get them down to 1.2 billion? You'd say, yeah, I have that same worry too, yeah. You wouldn't even know, you wouldn't be able to talk to them, so they don't want you as friends. So you have to settle with people who have the same problem as you do, and then you imagine that everyone in the world has the same problem as you do just because every friend of yours has that same problem. Yeah, everyone's struggling these days. Yeah. No, they're not. I'm not. My friends aren't. My friends are doing really well, thank you. I said I'd take a vacation a month. Remember I said that? Well, it's not exactly true. In January, in the second week, I'm going to Hawaii, and then in the third week, I'm going onto a cruise ship off Jamaica. Because, Hawaii and Jamaica, there's a direct flight, so you might as well. Why settle with one vacation, a one-week vacation a month if you can have two? And so sometimes I have two. Sometimes I take the whole month off. And I still learn more than you. And it's not because I'm smarter than you, because at age 39, I was worse than where you are. It's only because of intentional congruence, and it's only because of my books. That's all. That's it. It's time for a change. It's time to attain or solidify your success. It's time to go from success to significance. It's time to create your own microeconomy, like Apple did. Forget about what the macroeconomy is doing. It's time to cure invisibility. It sucks in invisibility. It's time to climb the branding ladder. It's time to get intentional congruence. It's time to climb the ladder of wealth. It's time for transformational change in your life. It's time to write a book. You have a book inside of you. It's time to get it out. But I don't have time. Give me a break. It's 10 hours. Just give me a break. But English is not my first language. My most successful authors did not have English as their first language. Doesn't matter whatsoever. But I've never written anything before. Well, most people haven't, and it's about time you got started. Just because you haven't done it doesn't mean you can't do it. I had very rarely raced to the North Pole before I did it. 2 days ago, my wife ran the Las Vegas half marathon. It was the third largest race of all time. There were 44,000 participants. It took my wife 1 hour to get to the starting line after the gun went off. 1 hour to get to the starting line. First running race she ever did in her life. So just because you've never done it before doesn't mean anything about whether or not you can do it. It doesn't mean anything. Just stop saying that. I don't know what to write about. That is the biggest handicap. That's a legitimate issue, but I can help you. If you accept me to help you get through this process, I will personally work with you to choose a topic. Because when I beta tested this, do you know what beta testing means? When I beta tested it with some selected students, the first thing they hit me with is, I don't know what to write a book on. And I helped them until they got it. So I will not stop until you've got a killer topic for you that will dramatically make a big change in your life. Do you understand that? On your own, you may not know what the topic should be, but I will get it for you. But I'm just an employee. Well, get ready for raises, promotions, and job offers. Let me prove it to you. Let's say you call me in, you're the manager of HR for a big company, and I'm a recruiter. You say, Raymond, I'm looking for a supervisor of whatever. And I say, okay, how much are you willing to pay? And you say $80,000. How much experience do you want? You say 5 years. I say, fine, I'll go around and look for you. I'll see you in a week. So I go away, and I come back in a week, and I say, hey, remember I was looking for that supervisor of whatever for you? Yeah, I found 8 candidates. 8 candidates. They're all around $80,000 that they want. Yeah, one of them's written a book on it, though. No. Do you see? Suddenly he wants to know about that one. I've got 8 candidates. One of them has written a book on it. He wants to know about that one. It's either that one or the others, as if the others are nameless, brandless nails in a bin. And one of them sticks out because that one wrote a book. If I said, look, let's just ignore the others, let's just grab this one who wrote a book, and I think you should offer 100 to grab her. He might say, sight unseen, I'm interested. He might. Would he say that? Would he even have a chance of saying that about the others? No, because the others, unless you read the resume, they're all the same. But this one has written a book. Well, let me see all the resumes. Okay, here they are. And then there's this one, has a book attached. Which one's he going to look at first? Like, do you get how obvious it is? When I wrote my first book, I was working for KPMG, the largest accounting firm in the world. I wrote my first book. It was a calculus textbook that was made compulsory at the University of Toronto the day it was published. Me, at age 22, I was a published author. I wrote a calculus textbook compulsory at the University of Toronto. So very proudly, I went back to KPMG and I said, guess what? I wrote a book, evenings and weekends, and it's compulsory for every first-year freshman calculus student at the University of Toronto. He looked at it and he said, you're kidding. I said, no. He said, we better give you a raise. I said, why? None of KPMG's clients care about calculus. They said, I know, but you wrote a book. I mean, we're going to put this in all of our proposals. That the leader of our group has written a book. It's compulsory at the University of Toronto. Wow. I said, what are you, nuts? It's on calculus. Nobody cares. They said, we won't tell them what it's about. We'll just say you wrote a book. Do you get that? I didn't write it to get a raise. I wrote it because I hated the way they taught math at the University of Toronto, and I just graduated, and so I wrote a book on it. The dean of math looked at it and said, this book is great. It's compulsory starting right now. So I was really happy. But then they gave me a raise, unexpected. They gave me a raise. What I did had nothing to do with real estate, but I wrote a book. Took me a year. Won't take you a year. It'll take you 10 hours. But I'm just a real estate investor. Well, real estate investors need lenders, need sellers, need realtors, need mortgage brokers. They need to trust you. If you're a seller and I'm buying a property from you, then you have to assess whether I'm actually going to come up with a down payment on closing day. You have to assess whether I'm really serious, whether I'm really going to close on time, whether I'm really going to get a mortgage. You have to look at me and decide. If I've written a book, man, the game over. If I've written a book on real estate or on branding, or whoa, okay, you must know what you're talking about. Sure, I'll sell my house to you. Most important, if you're real estate investors, you'll get investors. People will invest in you. They'll say, wow, you wrote a book on it? Here, I've got $100,000. Go buy a house and we'll co-own it. You'll have no end of funding for your real estate deals. But I'm already in business. Well, if you're already in business, how would you like lots more clients, lots more business, and get rid of your feeling of being stuck? Shouldn't I wait till I start my business? No, brand yourself first. I do not let my coaching students start a new business until they've written a book. If I'm working with a coaching student and they want to launch a new business, I will first write a book. And they say, why? Shouldn't I kind of learn about the business and then write a book after I'm a genius in it? I said, no. Why would you want to struggle for a few years before you write a book? Write a book now and you'll get clients easily. No, I never thought about that. I know. Nobody does. That's why no one's written a book, and that's why it's going to be so easy for you to stand out once you've written a book. Do you understand that? It's because nobody else does it. It's because you're willing to be transformational and the others aren't that you have the possibility of gaining great because of a book. But I don't know much. Well, you know more than your readers. See, with my chiropractor, his biggest issue was he's not the smartest chiropractor. And I said to him, you're not writing for chiropractors, you're writing for people with sore backs. Do you know more than they do? Oh, I know a lot more than they do. Bingo, that's it. Game over, write a book on it. But I don't like self-promotion. Good, the book will do it for you. The book will do it for you. You don't have to boast about yourself. But I'm afraid I'll get writer's block. I have a guarantee you won't get writer's block. I've created a program so powerful that it prevents writer's block. Put up your hand if you think that's incredible. It absolutely prevents writer's block. There's a 100% guarantee. If you get 60 seconds of writer's block, you get all your money back. 60 seconds. I don't know what to write. It's 45 seconds. I still don't know what to write. 52 seconds. I don't know what to write. 59. 60 seconds, I get all my money back. It's an honor system. You tell me you've had writer's block for 60 seconds, you get all your money back. Guarantee. Why? Because this system, there's never been a system like this ever. But don't I need to make money first? Do you want to make money first and then write a book, or do you want to make money easy by writing a book? Simple question for me. When does it start? You choose. There are so many different starting times because so many people are interested in this. This is the first time I've ever presented it to an audience as the entire evening, but as a side issue of some of the other workshops that I've done, I have mentioned it, and some other people have shown considerable interest. In fact, a lot of people have. And so I've got lots of starting times because of them. How much does it cost? Well, I'm going to be offering it in a product launch soon at $10,000. But I'm giving you a big discount. Put up your hand if you'd like a discount. Put up your hand if you'd like a big discount. Okay, good. Good. But my friends will laugh at me. Actually, it's the other way around. They'll be dazzled. They'll be completely dazzled by you, like everybody will be. So, no excuses. It's your time. It's time for a change. It's time for your wealth. It's time for your legacy. So I want to talk to you about my legacy that I'm able to create because of my books. I would never have been able to create this legacy without books. The first one is mega partnering, branding, internet marketing, and real estate. The 4 most impressive workshops in the entire world, I co-host them, and I'm going to be showing you each one of those 4 right now. Mega partnering. Mega partnering is the world's #1 annual wealth networking conference. #1. Last year, our super special guest speaker was Rudy Giuliani, the world's mayor. And he just blew everybody away with his wisdom and his integrity and his leadership. But that's gone. Who is the next one? The next one is going to be bigger and better than any mega partnering we've ever done. And here it is. In the year 2012, the mega partnering special guest is Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple. And that place is going to be jammed. It's going to be completely jammed. That's going to sell out months in advance. I am just so honored that we got Steve Wozniak, especially in this year right after Steve Jobs' passing. And branding. I am the host of the #1 most powerful branding workshop in the world called Top 1 Mastermind. Top 1 Mastermind, and branding will teach you exactly how to increase your wealth the most effortlessly. I'm also the co-host of Internet Marketing, and I'm hosting that by bringing in some guests who have worked at Apple, who have worked at Google, who've worked at Facebook, who've worked at Twitter, and they're going to be teaching you from the inside how it really works and how you can create your wealth on the internet, because I've been really mad at all these internet workshops that hold out the hope of doing well, and then you go there and you buy stuff there and it doesn't seem to work for you. Well, none of these are pitchathons. We're not doing pitchathons where somebody stands up, talks for 90 minutes, and tells you to run to the back and buy their stuff. Put up your hand if you've been at events like that. That's not what these events are. These are 2 solid days of teaching, 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 teaching. That's what these are. And finally, the 4th one is real estate, and this one is shocking. I co-host the Billionaire Experience with George Ross. I co-host the Billionaire Experience with George Ross. We get into a bus, and he drives us around New York and shows us the deals that he's currently working on, and some of the deals that he's already done, and the problems he had and how he overcame them, plus 2 solid days of teaching. Some of these events are in Toronto, some of them are in New York, but they're all available to you. So mega partnering, branding, internet marketing, and real estate. The 4 best workshops offered anywhere in the world, but wait till you see this. If those 4 aren't good enough, I'm offering something now. I'm going to tell you about something now that we will be releasing in a few weeks, and you are the first people I'm telling. And here it is. I'm hosting right here in Toronto, Oprah's Boyfriend. We're calling it the Stedman Experience. We're bringing Oprah's Boyfriend right here to Toronto. We've rented a ballroom. We are limiting the number of people because we don't want it to be a zoo. We want it to be a small number of people so you can actually meet him, touch him, maybe have dinner with him, maybe get a photograph with him. We want you to really meet the guy who stole Oprah's heart. Put up your hand if that's exciting to you. And we're doing that right here in Toronto in early February. That's the 5 incredible events that is my legacy. That's what I'm doing. And because I've written books, I'm able to produce that incredible legacy. And so now I want to introduce you to 10-10-10. 10-10-10 is writing a book of 10 chapters in 10 hours of your own time and be handing it out to clients in only 10 weeks or selling it in only 10 weeks. And when I say 10 hours, that's not just 10 hours to write your book. That's including editing it, getting the ISBN number, which is the unique number on the back to identify your book. That includes getting a cover for your book. And includes every single thing you need to do every minute of your time. There is an action guide that you'll get that has all the different steps you have to take. And beside each step, it tells you exactly how many minutes you have to do, and it adds up to 10 hours. I've never, ever, I'll answer all your questions at the end. I've never, ever produced anything as powerful as this before. So how have books helped me? Let's go through it so you can see exactly. I have lots of residual income. You know what that is? That's a cell phone. And my definition of a cell phone is evidence of insufficient residual income. A cell phone is evidence of insufficient residual income. When someone's cell phone rings, they grab it. And why do they grab it? Because they have insufficient residual income, so any phone call might be money, they better grab it. When someone calls me, maybe I take it, maybe I don't. If I take it, if they say, this is urgent, I say, not to me. But you can make 50 grand. Pfft, small potatoes compared to my residual income. What do I care? I want to detether you from your cell phone so that you take calls from your family, from your kids, couple loved friends, and that's it. That you don't have to be tethered to it for your whole life. I have lots of residual income. Do you want lots of residual income? Yes, okay. I have lots of free time. I've run a 100-kilometer, that's a 62-mile ultra marathon. I've run 3 full-length 26-mile marathons. I've done over 100 10Ks, official 10K races. I'm a mountain climber, I'm a rock climber, I'm a wild cave explorer, and I'm a unicyclist. There's actually a picture of me on my giraffe 5-foot-tall unicycle. And why am I able to do all that? Because I have so much free time. I take a 1-week vacation every single month. Where have I been? Well, I've got 6 slides that show you all the places I've been, but I won't bore you. I'll just show you one of these slides. But I've been to all those places, and I've totally loved it. I take so many 1-week vacations that I couldn't squeeze them all into one slide. And I also take a 1-month vacation every other year. Every other year. I had a spectacular 1-month vacation in Australia, and I spent actually more than a month touring all across Europe. I spent a month double crossing the Sahara Desert by jeep and camel. I spent a month trekking around the Annapurna Mountains in Nepal. I just came back from a 1-month honeymoon in New Zealand. I was in the Ecuadorian rainforest a few years ago. I was whitewater canoeing for a month. I was in England for a month. That was amazing. I slept on that beach in Fiji for a month just to get away from it all. And my most amazing 1-month vacation ever was Antarctica, the most blessed continent in the world. And there I took the best picture I ever took in my life. Do you want to see it? Yeah, good, because I brought it. There it is. I actually brought my tuxedo to Antarctica. And there I am with a king penguin. Behind my head is not gravel. Behind my head is 150,000 king penguins. 150,000 king penguins. So, is my life what you want? No debt, high income, high wealth, gorgeous new home, high residual income, lots of time off to do what I want. Is that what you want?
Yes.
Okay. So the investment today is a small car to get into 10, 10, 10. If you can't afford it, you'd better join. If you've been working for 5, 10, 20 years and you don't have a few $1,000s to put away for yourself, you better do something different, and this is the most powerful something different you've ever been offered. Now there's 2 levels. I'll tell you about the advanced level first. The advanced level, I personally am your trainer. You get the visibility and credibility at a cost of less than a business card. Wait till you hear that, it's amazing. You get a perfect topic just for you, even if you don't know what to write your book on. You get the perfect title just for you, and I work with you to make sure you get that. You get money, not just a book, because you don't really want the book. You want book as access to the income. I help you every step of the way with a 37-page action guide, yours to keep at the end of the event. And you take 10, 10, 10 once, and you write as many books as you wish. You own it forever. And you get every question answered personally by me, unlimited, no time limit. Any question you want, I personally answer. And then there's a giant advanced bonus, and that is you can follow step by step as I write a book. You can watch me write a book. When you're learning from me, you'll be watching me write a book in front of you. Put up your hand if you'd like to see that. Yeah, and once you see that, there'll be nothing that can hold you back. Another bonus is it's tax deductible against business income. If you don't have business income, if you have any business income in 2012 or 2013, you can completely write this off as a business expense. And finally, as an advanced bonus, you have a dazzling professional cover absolutely effortlessly. And as a huge advanced bonus, wait till you see this, I will personally write a testimonial on your front cover. I will personally write a testimonial on your front cover. So is that exciting? So whatever your book's about, it'll say, this is the best book on whatever, Raymond Aaron, New York Times, top 10 best-selling author, right on the cover of your book. It's huge, huge credibility. So you get 4 advanced webinars with 4 advanced bonuses, and you get personal help from me at a cost of a small car. That may be hard for you to believe because your burdens may seem too heavy. You can go further with a book. You can turn the tables on adversity with a book. But if those are huge, this is huger. There's a platinum level. There's only 2 levels, advanced and platinum. And here's the platinum level. I will personally read your manuscript. That's gigantic. I don't mean somebody will edit it for you. I don't mean I personally will read your manuscript. And I'll tell you what you're missing, what you should put more emphasis on, how you could make more money in it. Put up your hand if you'd like me to personally read your manuscript. Well, I personally will do it. Also, my wealthiest coach, who's worth about $500 million and has written 15 books, will teach you how to monetize your book. He's the guy I go to learn how to monetize my book, and he's going to teach you how to monetize your book. It's a huge bonus just for Platinum members. And I will personally send your manuscript to both publishers that made me a bestseller. That alone could be gigantic because the advances these days are anywhere from $15,000 to $1.2 million. So if one of my publishers picks up your book, you could get a big honkin' check. Put up your hand if you'd like a big honkin' check. Okay? And the top female nonfiction author of all time will teach you what to put in and what to not put in your book. And that's gigantic. You get my male energy and her female energy. So it's very, very powerful. And here's the hugest platinum bonus. When you see this, you're going to be stunned. Wait till you see this. I personally will write the foreword for your book. I personally write the foreword for your book. Now, if you got someone bigger than me, you go get them. But if you don't have someone bigger than me, I personally will write the foreword for your book. That's gigantic. That is gigantic. So at the platinum level, you get 6 platinum webinars and 11 platinum bonuses, and the cost is 2 small cars. And that platinum is actually a much better deal. So here's the hugest deal of all. That's how hugest it is. Here's how hugest it is. I am also going to give you, at no extra charge, 2 tickets to the world's #1 wealth networking event, Mega Partnering, starring Steve Wozniak. So when you register for this event, I'm still going to give you a giant discount, right? I'm still going to give you a giant discount, and 90% of people choose the platinum level. I'm going to include 2 tickets to the #1 wealth networking event in the world, starring Steve Wozniak. And I'm also going to give you 2 tickets to the #1 branding workshop in the world, held right here in Toronto, called Top 1 Mastermind. And I'm going to give you 2 tickets to a powerful internet marketing workshop right here in Toronto. And this is shocking. This is truly shocking. I'm going to give you 2 tickets to see George Ross in New York and learn from the master. If you can't attend, that's fine, but I'm giving you 2 tickets. You can give it to somebody else. And here's the very hugest. The very hugest is there's no risk whatsoever. There's no risk whatsoever. Why is there no risk? Because there's a 100% money back guarantee. And here it is. If you get 60 seconds of writer's block, you get all your money back. 60 seconds of writer's block, and it's a complete honor system. That's powerful. How can I afford to do that? And the answer is because 10-10-10 works. So if you've been in the situation where not everything you do turns out, maybe like this, then you need 10-10-10, because I'm now going to teach you the very, very hugest bonus. And here's the very, very hugest bonus. Here it is. It's the best news of all. I personally will be helping you. It is time for your change. You can have success and significance. You can be free of the macroeconomy and create whatever wealth you want. You can have a cure for invisibility. You can climb the branding ladder effortlessly. You can have intentional congruence with your book. You can end the the overwhelm that you feel. You can be immune from economic downturns. You can rise the ladder of wealth by taking a double step. You can create wows for other people so it's easy for them to buy from you. You can have transformational change in your life by having a book. You can attend with having 2 tickets to every single one of the 4 most powerful legacy workshops that I've created. But let me make it even better for you. In addition to 2 tickets for each of those events, I'm also inviting you to Oprah's boyfriend in Toronto, 2 free tickets to the Stedman Experience at no charge when you register today. Is that exciting? Yeah. And that event is right here in Toronto. In addition to that, there's a 100% guarantee. And the price, as I told you, is a small car for the platinum is 2 small cars. My last slide is coming up. And the last slide, I'm going to take out the word car and put in a dollar amount. And it's going to be so low, you're going to be shocked. Every single person in this room will be at the back table registering for this event because the tuition is so small. It will very soon be $10,000 when I offer it in a product launch, but not now. So I'm going to lower it ridiculously. And we're going to have a very short break. At the end of the break, I'm going to give you a gigantic gift for every single person in the room and tell you about another fact that you need to know. So in a minute, I'm going to drop the price lower than you could believe, and then we'll have an 11-minute break, and then we'll come back, and I've got a giant gift for everybody. Are you ready for this? Okay, here we go. Here's the giant discount. You can have the advanced program for only $787. For only $787, and the platinum is only 2 times $787. For that price, everybody in the room can be an author. And I'm going to give you one final bonus. When you register today, it's $787 for either one of them, for the advanced or the platinum. But for the platinum, there's just one other monthly payment of $787 a month from now. That is the best deal you'll ever get. If I ever offer it for less than that, you will get in for free. I'll give you a full refund. I will never, ever offer it at this ridiculously low price. There's someone at the back already. We're having an 11-minute break. Everyone who's registered gets in for that. If you haven't registered by then, you don't get in. You can wait for a month when I offer it at $10,000 and register at that time. So you do several things right now. Number 1, you applaud like crazy. Number 2, thank you. Number 2, you make a decision. You either get rich or pee. That's your choice right now. Get rich or pee. In 11 minutes, I'm going to give everybody in the room a gift. So go to the back right now, get into 10-10-10, and dramatically increase your branding. Come and do that right now. Thank you.